Hi everyone, Daniel Saletti here, author of the 00700. Hi everyone, Daniel Saletti here, creator of the 007 Saletti missions. And I'm here to give you a little bit of behind the scenes, things you didn't know, bonus facts about the story you just listened to, Your Eyes Are Lonely. This story was never intended to be a Christmas story. I always had the idea of a main Bond girl kind of luring Bond and 00 Saletti to this place and then turning on them midway through the mission. And I thought, Bond has had very few run-ins with the holiday. The closest you could see would be on Her Majesty's Secret Service. There's a lot of Christmas scenes there. There's a fair. There's even a song on the soundtrack. And then you could even maybe include the name of Christmas Jones in The World Is Not Enough. But that's pretty much it. So I wondered what would happen if there was a Bond Christmas movie or special. And so this is the quote official entry of Christmas into the Bond 007 franchise. We see in the beginning the return of a few characters. We see the return of Melissa and Steamhold from Live Free or Let Die, and that was always something that I did intend to do with this story. The idea of 00 Saletti going on a date of some sorts with a former love interest of his, and we did find out in that story, and then it's reflected in this that she really belongs to Bond, but she goes along with this one just for laughs and just to go with 00 Saletti for the evening. The funny thing about that dance they go to is it was based off of my high school proms, and it was everything from the layout of the place with the two doors on either side of the building, the actual ballroom where the dance is taking place, the photographer outside in the hallway. I knew the photographer for the school dances, and so this is all kind of based off of that. And, even down to the police officers that were standing outside. So, this was all definitely based off of that. And it was really kind of fun to include that. And, there is a small reference to a song. If you heard Bond and the DJ going at each other, Bond saying, "Just dance, it'll be okay, just dance, just spin that record, will you?" he said to the DJ. So if you picked up on that little tiny song reference, then good for you. Why did I include it? Because I thought it'd be kind of funny to have Bond say something like that. We then because I was making this now a Christmas themed story, we had a lot of give and take with the dialogue between having some Christmas references in there. So you have Bond and Moneypenny going at each other with some Christmas Carol references there, and then you have Bond and Q going at each other with some Christmas cracks at each other. And so that was very, very fun as well, and it's always kind of fun to have a little bit of the story and feel going into the dialogue of these characters. When we meet the Maxwells were an interesting characters. I always envisioned Sarah Maxwell being played by Jenna Coleman of Doctor Who and Victoria fame, and then her sister Jenna, which is not only a reference to the first actress I mentioned, Jenna Coleman, being played by a friend of mine from high school named Emma, and she was a very, very sweet girl, and so I thought, why not put her in there? And so they became the Maxwell sisters, and the estate that they're living in, that we meet them at, really does do everything that's pretty much described in the story. This is a real place called Longwood Gardens, and they do put this big Christmas display up every year. There are thousands and thousands of lights. There is a dancing fountain, and there is a giant Christmas tree that does spin around. And, there are greenhouses everywhere, these long corridors, where they do these chase scenes in the story, and there are miniature trains as well. So this place is huge. If you ever get the chance to go there, definitely go there. And if you even want to look up pictures and videos on the interweb, you can certainly do that too. So because that's pretty fun. We then meet B.J. Fleming, which was a funny character. He's the main antagonist villain in this story, and there are a lot of things going on with him. First of all, I always have him envision, this is why you hear he kind of sounds strange to you, like an Aussie trying to be British. I always envisioned him to be played by former Bond actor George Lazenby. Now, because of his Christmas connections in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I thought he'd be fun to include this, and also have Bond versus Bond, George Lazenby versus Roger Moore, which would be really, really fun. Of course, his name is pretty obvious, I would think. With his plan to do the identity switch from BJ to JB, that's pretty easy. And then Fleming, obviously, is a reference to Ian Fleming, the original creator of James Bond. And so you hear a few Aussie things in there, old Australian habit, right, you are mates, stuff like that. Clues in the Australia thing. And I think that's always really, really fun to do. The Downtown Festival was an interesting thing because I envisioned that to be kind of like a local thing here in Concord called Midnight Merriment that happens on Main Street, where they open up all the shops. There's usually snow on the ground. The Christmas tree is lit. There are s'mores. Everyone's having a good time. There are photo ops. All the stores are open. You can go in, shop, or you can have some goodies. And it's always a nice feeling, I think. And so I thought that would be a nice little moment. All this happiness is going on, and yet we have something not quite right going on. And so that was always fun. Also, by this point, we are introduced to we are reintroduced to a classic Bond henchman, and I could not help but include this character. It's the ever popular Jaws. Jaws was, of course, seen in The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, and he did have a conversion to the good side in Moonraker. He goes off with his unique girlfriend, Dolly, and he helps Bond escape. And so I thought, it'd be kind of interesting to revisit the character, and maybe something went wrong. Maybe he wasn't exactly, all good. Maybe he still had an inkling of going after Bond, and so that's kind of what happens here. And we see the fact that after Bond and 007 do attack him, and later on we do find out that yes, Dolly did leave him, and that's why he was just filled with that emotion that's why he went back. That's why the last thing he remembered was being with Dolly and with Bond, so he triggered that anger and went after Bond again, and was hired, once again to go after him. And I didn't want to put him in The Spy Who Left Me or Stargazer because it would have been too on the nose, and so I thought, this would be a nice little thing to include him in, and I think that was a lot of fun to do that. There are lots of twists going on, especially with the name change and recognition change, and then we have the sisters coming over. So I always thought, they go, Bond and 007 go, they get kind of sidetracked, and then the people who sidetracked them come back and want to help out. So that's always fun. There are also little references to the to a place called Saltzman's Department Store. Now, Saltzman's is a reference to Harry Saltzman, one of the producers that was in the first couple all the way up to Man with the Golden Gun, Bond films, and then that Saltzman's department store is actually supposed to be Wanamaker's / Macy's in Philadelphia, because they do have this animatronic Dickens Village, which is a walkthrough of A Christmas Carol. And it does basically include every little bit you hear in that, which is really, really cool. And what I did is that I included the actual audio of someone's recording through the Dickens Village. So if you heard that, that's really, really cool, actually. I kind of like that. And if you do get a chance to go there, I highly recommend it. Or if you want to actually watch the video, you can certainly do that too. However, we then transfer over to the toboggan thing, and that's all the way in Maine, in Camden, Maine, at a place called the Snowball. And they do have this giant chute that you can go down, and it puts you out onto a small little pond, and a frozen pond, and you see how far you can go. And this is a real championship contest that happens at the Snowball regularly. And so if you get a chance to see the videos or go up to the Snowball, that's a lot of fun too. And that leads them to a motorway near the woods after the Snowball place, and you hear Sarah make a reference to the Great Christmas Light Fight, which is always something I like to watch every year. And then it's also kind of cool because this is a reference to, especially going into the next into that chapter, we hear about a tree place and a speedway, and that's a combining reference to the Loudon Speedway here in New Hampshire, which does this giant drive light display, and then a thing in Concord called the Festival of Trees, put on by a local Shriner group, where you can bid on Christmas trees, and if you win, you get the stuff on the tree and below the tree. So pretty fun. And then we also get the revelation from Jaws as well there, so that's pretty cool. And of course, Jaws does turn back to the good side, which is cool. Finally, we have the ending at this fairy tale place, which is supposed to be Storybook Land. Storybook Land is a place in Egg Harbor, New Jersey, and puts on a fantastic Christmas display every year. It's a great little park, great little theme park, and definitely, if you're in New Jersey, it's good for any age, if you ask me. And there are a couple things going on here. We have the Christmas Princess, who was, of course, to be envisioned to be played by Hallmark Christmas movie star Danica McKellar. I couldn't resist putting her in there in this one. And I always thought it would be kind of cool to have James Bond kissing his Bond girl in the giant walk-through tree that Storybook Land has, so that's why I included that. And it's always good to see Jaws do a little thing at the park to see that he's not such a bad guy after all. And the last line that Bond says is Merry Christmas, Darling, which is, of course, a reference to the song Merry Christmas, Darling, and I thought that's a perfect thing for Bond to say at the end. So there are a whole bunch of other Christmas jokes and references I could have mentioned, but I'm sure you heard them through the story. This was a really fun one. It was different, and I think, this would be great if this would be ever the official Christmas entry in the 007 franchise. I think that'd be really cool. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next story entitled Water Lily, and we'll see you next time.